Hello folks, we've got some more car news for you. In this one coming from AutoExpress and Autocar. Car parks must prove they cancel fines, says the RAC. Ever wondered whether car parks actually repeal any of the thousands of fines they issue? Car park operators have been called upon to publish data to prove they're treating drivers fairly. RAC have already shown that car park operators are submitting 40,000 DVLA vehicle keeper requests per day, and they're suggesting that probably that means 40,000 parking tickets are going out in the post. How many of them are actually repealed? And this comes soon after the news that the government's going to consult on a private parking code of practice. But that all sounds very wishy-washy from what we've seen so far. The AA has actually accused the government of bending the knee to the private parking industry. So we'll wait and see where this one lands. But it would be very interesting if parking firms had to publish things like this, tell you if they ever overturn genuine cases or not. I dare say there are some that don't. Troubling drink and drug driving deaths could mean mandatory breathalyzers and black boxes. Almost 400 people died as a result of drink and drug driving last year, and the government is considering introducing tougher regulations as a result. It just baffles the mind that people do this, feel like they're completely fine to get behind the wheel after drinking however much or taking whatever they choose to take from wherever they've sourced it. But it still goes on, and it's an absolute crying shame. And if I had to blow into a black box in my car before I could start it, I wouldn't have a particular problem with it because I'm not an idiot and I don't drink drive. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. New Vauxhall and Zupla tool shows property listings with EV chargers. Zupla and Vauxhall's new tool will tell you whether a property has EV charging, where the nearest on-street charge point is. This looks like a really sensible idea. Zupla's obviously an online marketplace for homes for sale, much like Rightmove, etc. So you find all the housing listings there. And you'll actually be able to search to see if a house has got an EV charge point. And then when you go onto the listing, if it hasn't got one, you can see where the closest public charge point is. I think that's a really good move. Munich Motor Show is coming up. I'm going to be there thanks to my chums at VCheck, who are sponsoring my trip. So massive, massive thanks to them. One of my oldest sponsors, and I'm incredibly grateful to them. So Audi will be there with potentially a new electric TT. I must admit, when I saw that mock-up, a little bit of wee came out because I'm very excited about the prospect of that car. I've always loved the TT. Cue the hairdresser jokes alongside my obvious lack of hair. BMW iX3. This will be the first one of the new class cars that comes into production. Cannot wait to see that. Cupra design concept. Cupra Raval will be there, and there's probably going to be a hot version of that. Hyundai Ioniq 2. Looking forward to that. Leapmotor B05 hatchback. Mercedes GLC EV. AMG GT Track Sport, more on AMG in a second actually. AMG GT XX, the Polestar 5, which is an astounding looking thing. That's a beautiful car. Cannot wait to see that in the flesh. Porsche Cayenne Electric, Renault Clio, Skoda Epic, the Vision O, which looks like it will be their electric Octavia. VW ID2, that's going to be absolutely mental. I dare say the footage I get from that will be shocking because it will be like flies around the proverbial on that, I'm sure. ID2X, which will be like an SUV inspired version. VW T-Roc. So I think it's around about this time next month there'll be a video dropping of that. I'll have it out on the day of the press day, hopefully sort of early to mid-afternoon on that day, as I did with the Paris Motor Show. And I hope you're all watching. Folks, just a very quick reminder to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Thanks. Mercedes-AMG to distance itself from the core model range. So it sounds like in future they're going to save those three special letters, the AMG, for the real performance stuff. You're possibly not going to get an AMG line car anymore, which just being a trim level. And that's probably quite a good move. I think sometimes the waters get muddied a little bit. Someone said to me recently that they were going to look at an Ioniq 5N line, and they thought that was the Ioniq 5N. They were very excited about it, and when they turned up, evidently, it was the Ioniq 5 N-Line, which is just a nice trim level rather than a completely bonkers thing. And I think AMG holds a bit of weight, and it would be good to keep that as something separate from their trim lines. Trade Rapide, all new Renault models will come to market twice as quickly as before. New Renault Twingo sets the development benchmark that all other models must meet. 21 months from conception to production. And in car production terms, that is absolutely amazing. The newly appointed CEO of Renault, Francois Prévost, has insisted that the accelerated development process of the forthcoming Twingo small electric car is the right pace to apply to all Renault products, potentially reducing their time to market by more than 50%. The shift of mindset won't only apply to facelifted models, all those on an existing product architecture, with Prévost insisting that Renault has to apply this attitude to all projects, with one of its main aims in the early days of his tenure being to implement in France, in Europe, in Renault's ecosystem. I think that's really important, and I think more manufacturers need to start thinking like this, because these companies over in China can develop things, it seems, in a heartbeat, and some of the traditional manufacturers are at the absolute other end of the spectrum of that. And I think this is going to be a bit like the mobile phone industry in future. I think it's going to be about he who gets to market first gets the lion's share of it. Car cannibalism surges as parts thieves cash in. High cost of new parts and easy online resale is fueling the increase in crime. Scenes like this, I mean, 10 years ago, I can't imagine ever seeing that, a car that's just been completely stripped. This is happening in car parks. There was a case of a car park in Birmingham where it seemed to be a toss of a coin whether you come back and half your car was missing or not. And it's obvious why it's happening. You know, there is such a shortage of parts still. Parts prices are through the roof. And to a grubby little plonker that wants to make an easy few quid, they see that gap in the market and think they can fill it. Admiral Insurance says that last year it recorded 142 claims for stolen parking sensors compared with 36 claims the previous year, with an additional 104 claims for stolen steering wheels and airbags. It's unbelievable, isn't it? New airbags can cost as much as £1,200, but thieves sell stolen ones for a fraction of the price. Wing mirrors, catalytic converters, wheels, car emblems are also quick to sell on. A Golf owner here from Sutton Coldfield says a neighbour's doorbell camera showed one of the thieves casually walking away, carrying the bumper above his head. I've been told that the theft probably took no more than 3 minutes, and it's the second time my Golf has been targeted. 2 years ago, the car's original front bumper was stolen. Surprisingly, the car hadn't been broken into, and apart from missing much of its front end, there was no other damage. That's the one in the picture here. Imagine just coming and finding your car like that in the morning. It's crazy. Hyundai's betting on Genesis with dealer model move. Big name retailers including Arnold Clark and Pendragon have invested in Genesis showrooms. Genesis had previously been like a direct model, so you wouldn't have dealerships. They would have pop-up shops. They would have space in shopping centres and things like that, but they wouldn't have traditional car dealerships, and that is about to change. I think this is good news because there are a lot of people that won't buy a car unless they've got access to a dealership, and it's as simple as that. And the cars that Genesis produce are simply too good not to be purchased. So best of luck to them with that. GWM launches 𝘼𝙁𝙁𝙄𝙇𝙄𝙼𝙏, that's going to be pronounced power, 300 in the UK as a diesel pickup for 31 grand. Chinese company to start deliveries of the truck in September with prices undercutting key rivals. Now, we've only seen GWM here currently, I believe, as electric cars, although I think they might have had something years before, maybe a pickup or a van or something years and years before. However, I digress. The maker of the 𝘼𝙁𝙁𝙄𝙇𝙄𝙼𝙏 hatchback and the Vauxhall Pro crossover is bringing a pickup truck to the UK, and it will be one of the country's cheapest. Towing capacity of 3.5 tonnes, a 1 tonne payload, starting price of 31.5 grand, making it cheaper than the equivalent versions of the Isuzu D-Max, VW Amarok and the Maxus T60 Max, and only a few £100 more than the cheapest Ford Ranger and the KGM Musso. I think the Ford Ranger's still got an eco boom in, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. The KGM Musso, though, is a brilliant truck. Really very good, and the D-Max and the Amarok are both fantastic in my book. I'll be interested to have a drive in one of these when it comes. I've got the new D-Max in for review in about a month's time. if memory serves right. This one's going to have a 2.4 litre four-cylinder engine that sends 181 brake horsepower and 354 foot-pound through a 7-speed automatic gearbox to both axles. And while GWM's not given full performance details, says it returns 32.7 mpg on the WLTP cycle. New car sales dip in July as buyers await clarity on the electric car grant. Industry expects demand to pick up as more EVs are declared eligible for the ECG. But we already know that there are manufacturers planning to pre-register vehicles and keep the grant for themselves. And lots of these cars are already being discounted, and I'm sure they will just remove some of their discount but drop the price. I've covered it in other videos. I think it's a bit of a waste of time, personally. 6 Citroën models named as eligible for the £1,500 electric car grant. These are going to be the EC3, the EC3 Aircross, EC4, EC4X, 𝘼𝙁𝙁𝙄𝙇𝙄𝘼𝙏, and EC5 Aircross. A couple of those cars there, especially the EC4, EC4X, you can get huge discounts on those as it is. And that 1,500 quid will just get soaked up into that. Bold iX3 to arrive in September and mark the start of the next BMW era. The new SUV will be revealed in September as the first of the German firm's new class models. I've already touched on this earlier. This is a mock-up here, but it looks fantastic, I think. I'm not generally a massive SUV fan, but I think that thing looks fantastic. I love the new design language from BMW. It is evolution rather than revolution, but my word, has it evolved. There is some talk about this having almost 500 miles of range, but I'll wait to see what we actually are shown at Munich. Reinvented Nissan Micro matches the Renault 5 price at £22,995. That's the from price, obviously. Super Mini returns after a 2-year hiatus with blockier, funkier design, borrowing elements from the 2002 model. I think that looks great. It's not like massively dissimilar to the Renault 5 on which it's based, but certainly in profile. But I think front end and back end, it has got its own character, and I for one like it. What do you think? I've done a separate video on this. You may have seen it by now, but lenders won't have to pay compensation over car finance deals. The Supreme Court has ruled that basically, no, they were all right. Let them get on with it. There will still be some people that can make a claim, but it looks like that will be for extreme cases only, really. There probably will still be some sort of proper redress scheme for this. So everything I told you before about no win, no fee solicitors still applies. I wouldn't if I were you, but that's just my 2 pence worth. Thanks for watching this one, folks. Please subscribe to the channel. Please give it a thumbs up, and please come back for more. Have a good one. Bye. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.